everyone. And we welcome you to today's Redevelopment Agency Board meeting. We're grateful to have you joining us as we continue to hold electronic meetings. Welcome to the members of the public who may be watching our usual video feeds online. Even though we're not in person, this meeting is still considered an open and public meeting. Our section A of our agenda, we start our RDA meetings with comments to the board. Your feedback is always welcomed, and you can share that with the board at any time by mailing the council office at P.O. Box 145476, Salt Lake City, Utah 84114-5476, or emailing us at council.comments@slcgov.com, or by calling our 24-hour phone comment line at 801-535-7654. We are accepting your comments through WebEx, and for those whose only option is to call in, staff will be monitoring a separate telephone line. I want to mention our rules of the quorum. These are guidelines to help our meeting progress in an orderly, civil, efficient way. We will move through the agenda and want to give everyone the opportunity to voice their opinions without feeling intimidated. In order to achieve this, our rules of the quorum begin with the moment you arrive into our virtual meeting. The RDA board respects all points of view, and we welcome new insights. Please be respectful. Avoid yelling, profanity, or making racial slurs, obscene, or defamatory remarks. If you use profanity during your comment, your line will be muted. And any comments that reach a level of disrespect, I will ask that you be muted, and you will forfeit your opportunity to address the board today. If you're not able to complete your comments this afternoon, you're welcome to email the board or call our comment line. In addition, our staff will request for your name during the registration process. To limit disruption, your name cannot include a message or violate our rules of the quorum. If your registered name doesn't meet this requirement, then our staff will use the chat feature to gather that information from you. Amanda Lau from our staff is helping to moderate the meeting and will be messaging with the attendees to coordinate. Please monitor the chat screen for information and/or feel free to message our staff with any questions. Robert Natzman will be calling the names of those who wish to comment and unmuting the lines. When Robert unmutes your line and lets you know it's your turn, please state your first and last name just as you would in our in-person meetings. Indicate the topic you're speaking on, and the 2-minute timer will begin. At the 2-minute mark, we will announce time and your microphone will be muted. We will now open our general comment period. Robert, please start with our first comment.
And good afternoon, Board Chair. We have approximately 10 speakers to this item, starting first with Anna Coltrane, followed by Michael Valentine, and then Casey Mcdonald. One moment while I unmute Anna. Anna, you're unmuted.
Hello, my name is Anna Coltrane, and I will be speaking on the subject of saving the Pantages Theater. As a resident of Salt Lake City for the past 23 years, I am incredibly disappointed in this agency and our government officials. This city has a unique opportunity that these officials are squandering with lies and deception. The 103-year-old Pantages Theater downtown is in danger of being torn down purely because members of this council, including RDA Director Danny Walls, lied to the public, 2 mayors, and the council. Walls and Tammy Hunsaker, the RDA Senior Project Manager, also lied about this theater's qualification for the National Historical Registry and the amount of money it would take to restore this cinematic theater. These are just a few of the lies that have been told, and the lies must stop. I have lived in this city my whole life, and I love it deeply. This city is in desperate need of affordable housing, but most of the housing units going up are not affordable to most people. Now the housing buildings going up are at the expense of beloved businesses that offer uniqueness to the city. If we allow all the individuality of this city to be destroyed, then what is the point of paying an exorbitant amount of money to live here? This Pantages Theater is a place to make memories. Parents can take their kids, teenagers can go on their first date, all while being surrounded by outstanding history. There's a sister theater to our Pantages in LA that has been restored. We could be one of the few cities in this country with a restored Pantages Theater and join the ranks of a place like LA, not to mention all the amazing Sundance events that could be held there. When you see photos of the Pantages, you see nothing but beauty and potential. I don't want to live in a generic glass box city anymore. We need to make the Pantages Theater a Utah landmark people will come from all over to see. Thank you.
Board Chair, next we have Michael Valentine, followed by Casey Mcdonald, and then Robert Stefanik. Michael, you're unmuted.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I'm out on the street. Most of you know I'm currently chained to the front of the theater, so I'll try to talk loud. But first of all, I got to say it's ridiculous that you guys changed the link within an hour of the meeting. It was just working an hour ago, and you say it's technical difficulties. This is like the third time in these RDA meetings you guys have changed the link on us, and yet you're all vaccinated and you're still hiding behind COVID regulations. You know, the mayor was in the theater yesterday. You weren't wearing a mask. None of your family was wearing a mask. Talk to us in public. Talk to the people directly. Stop having these meetings on Zoom. We should be talking in person. And then secondly, the people don't recognize this meeting today. This is an illegitimate meeting. We revealed rampant RDA corruption at the top of the agency, and you guys are all silent on it still. You're just sweeping this under the rug, and now this corruption is your corruption. It's become citywide corruption. We have Danny and Tammy Hunsaker on video lying. They lied in meeting minutes. They lied in memos. It's a track station go by. Just a sec. You guys need to put a stop to this. You need to investigate. This meeting means nothing if it's corrupt and you're just keeping this on and sweeping it under the rug. You need to stop this right now. They've lied about historical registry for 3 years. They've inflated restoration costs. We can prove all of this. The news is investigating it right now. It's going to be a national story soon. I don't know what you're waiting for, but this is really a disgrace to the city, and you're, you know, completely ineffective as leaders of the city and council and the mayor. You need to stop this right now. This is beyond ridiculous. So we've been talking to you for 2 years on this, and I have to literally chain myself to the building to get you guys to listen. All we've wanted to do is talk to you. I've tried to be friends with all of you. I've tried to call you. I've tried to talk to every single one of you, especially you, Mendenhall. I tried to sit down and talk to you and make this work for the city. We're trying to build this into an international Sundance theater. You think that's a value to Salt Lake? You think Hines can't build this tower elsewhere? This corruption is rampant. It needs to stop right now.
Board Chair, next we have Casey Mcdonald, followed by Robert Stefanik, and then Sharon Franz. One moment while I unmute Casey. Casey, you've been unmuted?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm trying to get my head wrapped around my comments, so I will do it quickly. I think you all know how I feel, and I would go more pointedly towards this particular deal with Hines. I think, you know, I commented last time that obviously I'm biased in this conversation. I've always felt like this was a sour deal. The grammar request to me personally has proven to me that the deal is rotten. There's too many questions. You know, every deal is going to have a few questions in it, a few things that people may take exception with. But the more we learn about how this was put together, how it was kind of pressed through at the last minute under a previous administration for all the goals that I guess they had, the more we find that this deal is a bad deal on almost every front. So I would just encourage you to investigate this deal, to stop this deal, to save the Pantages Theater, and do what the city wants, what's in the 2006 downtown master plan, et cetera, et cetera. So thanks for taking the time to listen to me, and please don't stay silent. Please at least comment on what's coming out. The silence is more deafening, and I think more alarming to everyone I talk to than you guys at least making a comment of some kind to the public. So thanks. Bye.
Board Chair, next we have Robert Stefanik, followed by Sharon Franz, and then Dennis Fuller. One moment. Robert, you've been unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hello, guys. My name is Robert Stefanik. I'm talking about the Pantages as well. I'm deeply saddened that, you guys want to do this. I moved here 6 years ago from New York, and you all know about the story about the Penn Station there. I don't want to see another state make the same mistakes New York did with destroying an historic building to build some ugly ass, oh, wait, no, sorry about that, ugly building monstrosity that does not need to be here. We don't need to be copying other cities. If you want to copy other cities, guess what? They actually protect their historic buildings. On top of that, Miss Amy Fowler, I saw you the other day, or when Twisted Roots did their street festival, I saw you there eating food and everything. And yet you don't want to help protect that building, or that business, or the buildings that are connected to it. You guys all have Black Lives Matters in front of your building, but yet you don't want to protect the black business that's helping the community. On top of that, this theater could do wonders for people. We could have people coming from all around the world taking snapshots with it inside this theater once it's fully restored. I just can't wrap my head around any of this. Why would you guys want to destroy a priceless theater, any priceless building, in fact, for an ugly glass building that we don't need? And that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Board Chair, next we have Sharon Franz, followed by Dennis Fuller, and then Shane Franz. Sharon, you're unmuted.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Sharon Franz, and I'm going to speak also on saving the Utah Pantages Theater. I have lived here all my life, born and raised in Salt Lake. My husband and I have an interest in old theaters. We like old pipe organs. So we have traveled the country and found many, many restored theaters that are absolutely amazing. Each one individual, each city has turned these beautiful pieces of architecture and as a gathering place into a wonderful positive impact into their cities. These theaters, though, are old. They do require restoration. But once these things are gone, they are gone. This is a piece of history. Thousands of people have been there. It's amazing. You look at what's inside there, and there are people that are willing to save it. We personally own 2 historic buildings downtown that my husband and I have gone through and thoughtfully restored to save the history of these pieces. There are small businesses that will be affected and created. And I think as a Salt Lake City preserves small business, promotes small business, we would also be allowing another place where our children could come and learn about art, about film, about the history of what theater and what all those things mean. You, as the redevelopment people, have a chance to do the right thing. You can protect a piece of history, a piece of pride that Salt Lake City could call their own. And I think there are people now involved in this fight that know what to do, how to do it, and the right way to do it. I would hope that all of you would take time to consider this. And once it's gone and we have another white cement and glass building, I don't know how unique and how prideful we can be about that spot in our city. Thank you.
Board Chair, next we have Dennis Fuller, followed by Shane Franz, and then David Berg. Dennis, you're unmuted.
Okay, thank you. Let me know if you can't hear me, but hi, this is Dennis Fuller. I've been a resident of Salt Lake City, or Utah, for almost 15 years now, and I came here from Arizona for the mountains and stayed for the people and the beauty and the uniqueness of the architecture compared to my home in Phoenix. I walk around these neighborhoods in Salt Lake, and every home is unique in some certain way or has been amended to be unique. And I think about the same thing in downtown, how it has so much character and we have our even the Mormon heritage as well with the temple. I mean, imagine tearing down the temple because of some corruption and some behind doors deal with someone or whatever. I mean, think of the uproar that would happen all over the world for that. We don't want to do that with this theater. People respect art, and people look at art differently than any other form in history. I mean, we look at wars and we study wars, but no one is fond of wars. We look at art and we grow from there, and art makes life worth living. So we need to make this an arts hub, and we need to keep this Pantages Theater. We have to do it. There's no other way to move forward and create a better Salt Lake downtown, our cultural arts hub in these couple blocks downtown with the Eccles Theater and the Capitol. So I propose that you have Hines build their condos elsewhere. There's a million other condos happening in Salt Lake, and we need more affordable housing, not high-rise ritzy condos. Preserve art and preserve Beethoven's Fifth Symphony and Stravinsky's Petrushka and Rite of Spring, and preserve Picasso's art. We're preserving the Pantages Theater, and we're following in parallel to those. So thank you for your time. I mimic anyone who was speaking before me as well.
Board Chair, following Dennis, we have Sharon Franz, and then David Berg and Haley Jean. One moment. Shane, you're unmuted.
Thank you. Folks, my name is Sharon Franz, and I'm calling to comment on the Pantages Theater as well. I support Michael Valentine and the work that he and Casey Mcdonald are doing. And frankly, folks, I think you need to meet with them. I expect that as of our elected officials. Our public needs to be heard. Also, very concerning about that we're really continuing to hold the meetings via WebEx and things of that nature. We need to have open public meetings where we can see your faces. As I scroll through right now, I can actually see that most of the board, including Mr. Walls, they'll have their faces hidden. I don't even know if they're there. Anyway, very, very disconcerting. So we need to fix that quickly. The pandemic is over. But as far as the Pantages itself, it is just so critical we save that. San Francisco historically demolished their magnificent Fox Theater in the 60s, and it has gone down as one of the worst mistakes culturally that they've made in their history. The same people who wanted to do that wanted to also get rid of their cable car system. Thank God that didn't go through, but could you imagine if Salt Lake City had our cable car system or our trolley system going along 3rd Avenue still? It would be just a magnificent tourist attraction and a way to see the city. Along with that, let me just propose, as you come off the freeway 6 South off-ramp, there's a terrible eyesore and disgrace to the city, and that's some sort of a haunted house or some remnants of some type of manufacturing or cement works. That would be a great place to build something beautiful to the city. And I would propose that Hines move their project over there, and let's get rid of that eyesore at the gateway to the city. So thank you for your time. Please meet with Mr. Valentine. He's passionate. He's out there literally chained to the theater. I think you owe it to meet with him at
Time.
Board Chair, next we have David Berg, followed by Haley Jean. David, you're unmuted.
Hi, thank you for taking my comment. I am a 4th generation Salt Lake City citizen dating back to my immigrant binary great-grandparents who are now buried in the Salt Lake City cemetery. I'm calling on you to immediately cancel the corrupt backroom $0 deal, fire Danny Waltz, and investigate the deep corruption behind this corporate welfare handout and RDA corruption and corporate collusion in general. In the 2018 meeting, Councilman Wharton asked about historic tax credits. To which Waltz knowingly lied to the council and mayor, and then immediately after emailed the developers to further conspire how to mislead citizens, the council, and the mayor, rather than let the public and the council and mayor know that there are millions available in tax credits for the redevelopment of the theater and use of this magnificent, irreplaceable jewel in downtown Salt Lake City. The luxury condo tower can be built anywhere, other number of places on the exact same block or throughout the city, but of course they wouldn't get the $0 sweetheart backroom deal that you're currently offering them. Just to quote Albert Einstein, "The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything." Albert Einstein said that. Council, the ball is in your court. Will you serve Salt Lake City citizens or the corrupting corporations who have had such a denigration on this the past few years in Salt Lake City history? I urge you to do the right thing. History will remember you. Remember what your decision is at this point. Thank you.
Board Chair, next we have Haley Jean. Haley, you've been unmuted.
Hi, thanks for joining, everybody. I mean, everything that I wanted to say has more or less been said, so I'm just going to mirror that one more time and say that you have the opportunity as our city officials to do something for the Salt Lake residents that shows that you serve us before corporations. And I mean, that's kind of what it boils down to. The other thing I wanted to bring up is just the existence of the RDAs at all and what they do for the community. It sounds like the members of the RDA aren't voted in by Salt Lake citizens. And it sounds like in general, their goal is to make as much money off of us as possible by taking things that could benefit the general public. The arts are so important on so many different levels. I've grown up, I was born in Salt Lake and lived here my whole life. And as the years go on, I feel like the culture and environment of Salt Lake has been depleted into something monetized for a handful of people who are just sapping the life out of this city. So that's all I have to say. Thank you. And yeah, just keep in mind, who do you serve? Is it us or is it a corporation?
Board Chair, we do not have any more speakers to this item.
Thank you, Robert. Before we continue with our agenda, I would like to read a statement that I prepared and consulted with the board members relating to the Utah Theater, and it goes as: we're sympathetic to Michael Valentine's passion for the Utah Theater and support free speech. As to chaining himself to the theater doors, that is a safety issue for him and the city. The pending litigation initiated by Mr. Valentine's group and related to the Utah Theater also limits our ability to publicly discuss the allegations about the sale of the Utah Theater. We always take information and concerns very seriously and are taking the time necessary to review this issue. With that said, I will move on to item C1. However, I wanted to thank everybody that provided those general comments, and we have no public hearing today, therefore that's why we're moving to item C1. And the first item is meeting remotely without an anchor location. The board will consider a motion to ratify the Chair's determination to continue meeting remotely and without an in-car location due to the health and safety of the people who may be in attendance, and considering the continued closure of the city and county building to the public. I would like to call for a motion. Anybody about meeting remotely without an anchor location?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Right, moved by Board Member Fowler and seconded by Board Member Wharton. And I'm going to roll call this. Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Wharton?
Yes.
Mano?
Yes.
Dugan?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Thank you. We're moving on to, and we are going to skip number 2, which is, I'm sorry, we're not actually, never mind. We're not skipping number 2. We will have to skip number 3. So we are going to talk about, and we're going to get an update on the 650 South Main Track Station funds. And at the table, we have Ben Lutke, Danny Walls, Tammy Hansaker, and Kara Dinsley. Go ahead, Ben.
Thanks, Madam Chair. This is the last of the originally planned downtown track stations back from 1997. The rail lines at this location were widened when they were built to accommodate a future station. The board has approved a little over $1.4 million from 3 different budget openings for this project. The board also included 3 contingencies on half of that funding. You received updates previously on the first 2 contingencies. This was UTA signing an agreement to operate and maintain the station, and finalized designs as well as cost estimates. I'll turn the time over to the RDA staff for an update on the 3rd contingency, as well as new cost estimates. The inflation in construction pricing that the city has experienced in other capital projects is also occurring for this one.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Madam Chair, and the members of the board. We appreciate the opportunity to be here today. We understand your time is tight today with council meetings and budget information, so we'll try to be quick. I will turn it over to Kara, who can go through a presentation rather quickly, which covers the final contingency as Ben indicated and provides some additional detail. And then we are available for any questions that the board may have at that time. So Kara, take it away, please. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Danny. Can you all see the presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, sorry, let me just.
I don't think we can see it yet, Kara.
Oh, you can't. Shoot, okay, I'm sorry.
Not yet.
There it is. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to start by providing a quick recap of some of the background on the project, and Ben provided a lot of it just now with his intro. So I just, I'll show you where the station is located on this location map. It's shown in red on the north half of the block between 600 and 700 South on Main Street. And in this map, it's hard to see, but I've also shown the locations of the 9th South Station and Courthouse and Library. And what that shows is that this station is really filling in an area and providing transit access to an area that's rapidly developing between or around 600 and 700 South and all the way from 200 West to 200 East. Which includes the area where the Women's Homeless Resource Center is. Ben mentioned that this station is the last that was planned for the north-south line when tracks was built before the 2002 Olympics. And so when the rails were put in, they were put in to accommodate this station. They don't need to be changed for construction. As development started happening in the area, the RDA and Transportation Division identified an opportunity to work together to build the station and use funds from funding contributions from nearby development projects to help fund the station. At that time, the RDA appropriated about $639,000 to the project, and we worked with developers who were planning projects in the area to provide the remainder of the funding, which was estimated at that time to be around $2 million, a $2 million project. But not every project was at the same stage of development at that point. So developer contributions were committed from 3 of the projects that would be underway when the station construction needs to begin. And those are shown in yellow on this map. So to help cover the contributions for developments that wouldn't be underway yet when station construction needed to be funded, the RDA appropriated an additional $750,000. So together, the 2 RDA appropriations allowed the RDA to work with UTA to execute a construction agreement, work with participating developers to negotiate contribution agreements, and of course, continue to pursue future contributions from other projects to repay the RDA for the $750,000. The reason we are coming back today to present the project is because the RDA board attached 3 contingencies to the $750,000 appropriation, and I wanted to report on the status of the project to show how we're able to meet these 3 contingencies. So Ben mentioned this, but the first contingency was that we would need to secure an agreement with UTA to commit to operating and maintaining the station. We would need to return to report the finalized designs and cost estimates to the board, and we would need to return to provide a plan to fully fund the project. So here's where we are in the project. The RDA executed a construction agreement with UTA in December, and that includes an O&M commitment. So that satisfied the first contingency. The architect for the station, CRSA, completed the design and cost estimate in February of this year, and we provided that to the board in April. So that satisfied the second contingency. Since then, UTA issued an RFP for construction of the station platform and mid-block crossing, and a contractor was selected last month. So UTA and Salt Lake City Transportation have come to the table and provided additional funding, and RDA has negotiated participation agreements with developers. So we have a funding plan for the project that's now been finalized, and I'm going to share that with you next. So the funding plan shown on this slide, like Ben mentioned, the construction prices in the area have gone up considerably over the past 2 years. So the total project cost for the station is now around $3 million instead of the $2 million that was estimated back in 2019. So the funding for the station will be coming from the 2 RDA appropriations that total around $1.4 million. But with the increase in the construction cost and knowing that the amount left to be covered by nearby developments was higher than originally anticipated, UTA was able to bring down the total project cost by providing $173,000 for the platform snowmelt system, and our transportation division brought down the cost by providing $150,000 for the traffic signal at the station. So with the funding sources shown on this slide, the contributions for the 3 participating developers total around $1.3 million. And participation agreements have been negotiated and are ready to execute at this point. Next steps for the project, the UTA board will review the construction contract and consider approving it in June or July. And then construction can begin shortly after that, July or August of this year. And we anticipate the station will be ready to open by February of next year. And that is my last slide. So.
Thank you, Kara. Board members, do you have any questions on those numbers? Or about the construction or anything about this project? See anybody? See any hands up? I just have a question, Kara. So you said the total is $3 million, city, UTA, and etc. We're going to cover, and then there's an excess of $1.2 million that is covered by the developers.
Yes, I think so. I was trying to unshare my screen, so can you repeat the question so I make sure I answer?
To 2 slides, 1, 2, 3 slides back from the end, where you put all the numbers and everybody that contributed.
Yeah.
Yes, the amount of the developer contribution is $1,265,000.
Okay, and that would cover for everything, and we're set on that, and they have signed off on it, and we're ready to move forward.
Yes, the participating developers, we've negotiated the participation agreements with them. We've finalized those amounts, and they have signed off on those, and they're ready to move forward.
Okay. All right. Do you anticipate any change whatsoever? Like something happens and you need to come back to the board for additional funding, or somebody backs out and they say, no, never mind.
We don't anticipate anyone backing out that has agreed to participate. I think we know that construction prices are volatile right now, and so, but the bid has been provided to UTA, and we are working with UTA to get that contract signed for construction as soon as possible. So I guess that's my best answer there.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
It just might help to just be really clear in the record, and I may be misstating this, and so I would like to have somebody correct me so we have it in the record. But originally, the board's intent was not to have the RDA money spent on permanently on this station. The goal was to use the money as seed money in order to get the others to contribute. Is that correct? And is this a little bit of a shift?
That's correct, Cindy. The board approved about $640,000 for this project, and an additional $750,000 that was fronted and expected to be paid back by adjacent developments. Once paid back, it would be available for seed funding in the 9-line and/or State Street project areas again.
Okay, so just so that it's clear in the record. And then the other thing is that it is the staff's intent, I think, to negotiate with the other developer that is not yet at a negotiating stage in order to try to recover an investment similar to or equal to the investments of the other developers who have participated. Is that a correct understanding?
I think it's important to clarify 2 things as part of that understanding. Yes, to the first point, the $788,000 that was approved by the board was approved to cover the project through construction. And to Ben's comment, it was the intention for the agency to seek as much of a reimbursement of that amount through negotiations with the developers as possible. However, as we indicated at that time, we did not know what level of participation the developers would agree to, number one, or if we would recover that amount fully, but that is correct that that was our intention. The second point, Cindy, that you raised is yes, there is still one developer who we have been negotiating with. Their project is not as far along as the other projects that are under construction and have a budget. And so we fully intend to continue to negotiate with them for the same purpose of trying to reduce that agency contribution of that $788,000 and then have those funds available for seed funds throughout the rest of the project area. So that is still the plan, and that was part of the original contingency.
Good. That's great. I just wanted to kind of get a little clarity so that when we're looking back, someone doesn't say, well, but it was paid for. Why would you need more money? So.
Right. Now you are correct in that.
Thank you.
Okay. So board members, I hope it's clear. That 788, we said yes, but we want to get reimbursed. I don't think we ever said we want to, correct me anybody if I'm wrong. Nobody said we want to be reimbursed dollar by dollar, but we want to get reimbursed somewhat. But because that part hasn't been finalized, we don't know if we're going to get reimbursed. So the question for the board, I guess, and for me is, are we okay with that moving forward, and then potentially not having seed money for the rest of for the 9 or stay? If in the unfortunate event that somebody else doesn't want to participate. Go ahead, board member Manu.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what would compel a future developer to participate if the station's already built at the time at which we ask them to participate. I can see why a developer that's already working on it, that knows that because if they don't participate, the tracks won't be built, they would. I'm confused as to why they would.
Board member Mana, that's a great question, and I think that's important to clarify as part of the original intention with this structure. As for the answer as relates to the final developer, they were approached initially on, just like every other developer. They knew, just as we've negotiated with other developers, that this station likely would not be built, but for the participation of the developers, which at this point is $1,265,000. So we've been successful in covering almost half of the station costs here to build it, and that is just because the developers believe strongly in the benefit that this is for the surrounding area. The remaining developer does not have a project just yet. They have one that they are proposing. They have indicated that as part of their project that they would like to come and seek additional RDA participation for that project. And so we've been very clear from the beginning that any involvement by the agency, the priority would be first to cover this contribution that they would have as part of their project and as part of their share for the track stop. We don't have the details of what that level of participation would be, because it'll be based on their project as well as how they either develop it and or sell the parcels off. But they are aware that any future participation of the agency would include contributing towards this and reimbursing the funds from their project for the benefit of the larger project area. So it's not so much that they realize that if they hold out, then they don't have to participate, as much as if they have any future involvement with us, we've been clear that this is a requirement of that.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else has their hand up? I don't see anybody else. So Danny, for that, I like that. So basically, when you said if when that group that has not participated yet because they don't have a plan yet, but when you say when they come back to us, that's when we're gonna call them, I guess, to the deal. Like, we want not engage, but we want participate unless they contribute to this project. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. And to Cindy's point, I think we do need to make it clear that there is a risk that if they do a different project or they don't do their project, that we may not have the opportunity to get that reimbursement. But that has been the same position we've made clear from the beginning, that we just are working with these developers at the different stages of their various projects. And we're trying to make it to where everyone is paying into it as a function of moving the project forward.
Okay. And an example would be they engage with RDA because they need a loan for affordable housing, for example.
Correct. Either loan or a reimbursement agreement, and then As part of that, if they have a project at that point where they have a budget and they have costs, then it's expected that they should be able to factor into their total project cost their contribution to the track stop, just like every other surrounding developer has already agreed to do that is under construction.
Okay, and what's the percent? I mean, is there a percentage of the contributions that the other ones have done, or is it more of here's what we can afford?
No,
Yeah.
Carrie can get into details on the calculation if the board wants, but it was a function of their proximity to the station as well as the size of their land and development, which created a pro rata share for each project as far as what their share of the total cost should be. So it's not just a random arbitrary number as much as it was tried to be divided up equally amongst the different projects based on their relative size and distance.
All right. Sorry, Dan, I think Dan Dugan has his microphone on, so I'm not sure if you had a question.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna make a motion, but I'm good right now, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we all understand that there is a chance that we might not be reimbursed dollar by dollar, and that we are okay with it. All right, I don't see anybody else's hands up, so let's keep moving on then to.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
do we need to make a motion to authorize the RDA staff to continue with the project?
Jen, can you help me with that, because I don't see here in my
I remember
notes.
this was the one that we didn't have time to write a motion sheet on. I believe the attorney's office emailed us some language today. I think it relates to the contingencies. Let me just pull that up. That the board accept the contingencies as completed so that the RDA can execute the necessary contracts to move forward. Sorry, I'm realizing we should have forwarded this to you guys. It came this morning, so.
Okay.
You could probably just move to accept the contingencies.
Okay.
That's satisfied.
So, Madam Chair, I move that the board approve the plan and move ahead with the contingencies as stated.
Second.
Right, we have a motion by Board Member Dugan and then a second by Board Member Mano. I'm going to roll call this. Rogers?
Yes.
Ferris?
Yes.
Wharton?
Yes.
Mano?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Dugan?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to not going to talk about item number 3, which was the Station Center Innovation District concept because of the time. We are going to do that in our July meeting. We are moving on to item number 4. If we have time, Jen, I'm sorry, I keep calling on you. And I'm guessing we're going to go through with it, and then Jennifer Bruno and Ben Lutke and Danny Walls are at the table.
So this one is actually an item that we were thinking would just be a tentative briefing just to confirm board's understanding of the budget that you're adopting. And so we don't need to necessarily go through this item. If the board could just take a look at the changes that we think we heard from you guys and confirm that that's what you'll be adopting next week.
And that will be on page 1 of the staff report.
Yes.
Jen has a really good job about of like describing what she thought she heard from us. So if any other changes that are not there and you want to change, or if you're okay with what's in there, then we can move forward.
And they don't need to answer right now, Madam Chair. It just gives them an opportunity to take a look at it and let staff know as soon as possible in the next day or 2 if they have any.
I was going to say, if you could let us know by like tomorrow, that would be helpful. Because we'll need to prepare adoption documents for Tuesday, and we'll post those in the packets this weekend.
Can I ask more of a procedural question?
Yeah.
I don't have anything I want to change in what's written in here, but why is it that we approve the housing policies at the same time we approve the budget? Is that
so
typical?
this is actually just a function of the timing, I think, and the board not having a housing policy set until kind of almost too late in the process to really be a part of this budget. So in a way, you are setting the housing policies by setting the budget. We'll follow up in a July conversation to actually adopt the strategies document, that resolution where there's actual strategies. So I think in future years, it will look more like the January, February timeframe. The board will adopt what the housing strategies should be, so that the board, or so that the staff will know what kind of strategies to propose in that following year's budget.
Okay, it's all coming back to me. Thank you.
Thanks. It was a little confusing for us to sort out too, so thanks for being patient this year.
Thank you, Jen and Darren. Chris, you have your microphone on, so go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh,
No.
what about, oh, I see Dennis. Okay, go ahead, Chris. Oh, you're good.
No, sorry, it was a mistake.
All right, I don't see James's hand up, and the rest of my board members do not have their hands up. Okay, so then Jen, thank you so much, and Danny, I'm not sure if you guys want to say anything else about it, or we can move on. Let me see. Here.
No, we are good. Jen did an awesome job, and Ben, with all of this, so thank you.
All right, thanks. Then we're going to move to item 5, report and announcements from the executive director. And I see our executive director. I saw her earlier.
I don't have any comments.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Number 6, report and announcements from RDA staff.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just 2 super quick announcements. Number 1, we want to welcome Felina Lizald to the RDA. Felina's been with the city for over 5 years. She comes to us from the facilities division, and she is coming into our office facilitator position, and she's replacing Rachel Molinari, who jumped over to CAN to work on the CIP process. So the merry-go-round continues within the city, but we're happy to fill that position and have Felina with us. And then the second thing is going back to the track stop. I wanted to make sure that we thank transportation, specifically John Larson and Susan Lundmark for their help in that. Even though that's technically coming to you as an RDA project, they've been instrumental in that. And I wanted to make sure that the board and the council recognize that their efforts in pulling that project together. So, and I'm not just saying that because Susan's a former RDA employee, but wanted to make sure that we gave them some credit. So thank you very much for that. And that is all we have unless there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan and John. Let's move on to, we don't have any, number D, we don't have any written briefings. Number E, consent. And then the board reappointment for the Redevelopment Advisory Committee, Mark Isaac. And we are considering approving the reappointment of Mark for a term ending January 20th of 2025.
And Madam Chair, you would just call for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a motion? Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right. Motion by board member Rogers and seconded by board member Fowler. On a roll call, Rogers.
Yes.
Perez.
Yes.
Wharton.
Yes.
Mano.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you. And we don't have a closed session, and so we are adjourned.
Council members, if you can jump onto the council meeting as soon as possible, that'd be great.